Today, we are going to take a look at this Grex airbrush. This particular one is the Grex XGI2 ES, which is basically a Grex without the green stuff, without the extras, and it's called the Essentials. It is a rather solidly built airbrush. Of course, it comes with a removable cup, and those of you who follow me probably know I'm not the hugest fan of them. It also has a unique feature that the needle guard just pops on with a magnet like this. Although, because of the way that head is designed, it makes it a little bit difficult to see your needle when you're working with these airbrushes, and this is a 0.2, so we would be looking for a detail airbrush, and that might make things a little different. But they make a clear view, what they call a clear view head assembly for this, that you can put on there. That gives you a little bit better view of the needle. Doing a quick disassembly on that, the head comes off really easily just by hand. The handle, of course, just screws off, and then pulling the needle out, we will point out that one of the things I really like that Grex does, this needle has got 2 marks on it, notifying it as a 0.2. This one groove on the head assembly here is denoting this as a 0.2. The nozzle on these are pretty big. They are, as far as threads go. So that's actually pretty nice because these are less likely to, get lost or damaged. The threads are pretty heavy duty. The odds of you damaging something taking the nozzle in and off is very low on this. So while I like self-centering nozzles quite a bit, that's not a bad situation to have. They're really durable and well built. And of course that comes off like that. The trigger comes off like that, and that piece comes out. And these air valves can be screwed right off completely off the back of the airbrush. And that's how easy they are to disassemble. And now that it's put back together, that same magnetic piece or magnetism is on the back of the trigger stop, which is preventing you from pulling too back far on the trigger. For those of you that use those, it is very smooth, very easy to operate. Everything about the airbrush is very, very easy to maintain. The things as far as quality goes, I cannot fault it whatsoever. There's nothing I've not found any burrs or anything that's out of place. All of the chrome is in good shape. I've had this airbrush for about 3 years and really have nothing to complain about from a quality standpoint. As some people know, I don't like removable cups because they tend to, be a little harder to clean, but that's not something I can fault them for. And the trigger is pretty stiff, stiffer than any other airbrush I own. So if pulling back on the trigger is pretty stiff, and there's no way to adjust that short of changing out the spring to something different. Anyway, let's get this over and we'll see how it sprays out. One thing you probably heard from other people, if you've seen anybody else talk about these airbrushes, they tend to want to throw a lot of paint. That's pretty big for a 0.2. But the downside of that is I really have to work hard to get fine lines. And if I want to get really super fine lines, it really struggles to get super fine lines. Like these aren't even, and then when you really try to get down there, it tends to be spotty. And that, I've got the pressure, I can turn the pressure up significantly. I've got the paint, this is Createx Illustration, reduced 50/50. Like I just really struggle to get it to give me clean, fine lines. If I want to do any other work with it, it's very responsive, goes right wherever you want it to be, and it puts out a lot of paint for a 0.2. And for modeling and stuff like that, it is absolutely awesome. It atomizes very well, but it really struggles to get down to super fine lines. As a comparison, okay, I missed it, but these are just, this is the GSI Krios PS289, and I sprayed that, and these were the lines that I made with the Grex. Same paint, same pressures. My hand's a little bit shaky because I'm standing behind my camera. As you can tell, it doesn't throw out as big of a pattern as the Grex. And this is a 0.3, and the Grex at a 0.2 is throwing out a pattern that wide, and the 0.3 is throwing out a pattern this wide. But as you can tell, I can get much cleaner and much finer lines, and I can clean that up even more if I really get in there and start playing with my pressure. All right, so my final thoughts on that. Okay, it's a well-built airbrush, and it's great that you could actually, you can get all the way up to a 0.7. You can switch out the parts. You can even buy a fan pattern for that airbrush from Grex. However, when it comes to doing details, if you're really trying to get the small details, I feel like they really let you down, that you really can't get that super fine detail. I'm not saying they're not good airbrushes. I think for modeling, they're great. I wouldn't hesitate to do them like for mural work on a wall or something like that, or even larger pieces of artwork. But when it comes to getting those fine details, which if you're buying a 0.2, that's probably what you're looking for, they really disappoint compared to other airbrushes. I can get finer lines with just about every airbrush I have than I can with the Grex 0.2. Anyway, I'm Bill Kennedy with the Aerospace, if you didn't know who I was. For those of you who've been wondering where I've been, I tore my rotator cuff and my labrum. I spent 6 months in physical therapy and kind of getting it back together, but probably never going to be 100% in this shoulder again, but that's all right. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you for coming by here, and let me know what you think. Y'all have a great day. Bye.